Welcome back to Sports Hop. You already know what time it is. It's your player partner, Mack B. Back at it, back in the building, episode 37. And I've been so excited. We got a special guest on the couch today.
Some more.
We got a radio legend, a queen in the building. We got Kool-Aid pulling up.
All right.
What's up, Mamacita? How you doing?
You know, I'm new to this. This is all new to me. So where's my camera? All these cameras in this fancy studio. Where am I looking? Where am I going here?
You can go. You go right there. You go right there.
Oh, look, there I am. I can come up.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got options.
Okay. I got options. I like that.
Yeah. How you been? You good?
I am so excited. I'm really, really good. And it's good to be to a place where I can say I'm really good. So
the smile sells it all, right?
Stop.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
So let's just jump right in.
Let's go.
Let's talk about the early
Are you sure
days.
You're ready?
I'm ready, baby.
Okay,
I was born ready.
Let's go.
Let's talk about the early days, right? When you were younger. Talk to me about just kind of growing up in Colorado Springs and what that was like.
Okay, so growing up as a military brat, I was born in Alamogordo.
Yeah.
We moved to Colorado Springs, but then my influential years in 6th grade, I moved out here to Cali. And I knew exactly what I wanted to be when I grew up. In junior high school, I had all the, not only DJs on my locker, but the Power 106 DJs.
Really?
On my locker, I knew I was going to be a DJ at Power 106. And you being a sports guy, you being a footballer, imagine how that is. Because, like, how many spots are on a football roster? Like, everybody talks about how hard it is to get into professional. How many spots?
48-man roster when they do all the cuts.
Okay, so you're talking a 48-man roster. Now, when you're talking about a radio station, one radio station, you're talking about morning drive, middays, afternoons, nights, and overnights. You're talking about a 5-man roster.
Wow.
So my dream as a kid was to be part of the 5-man roster.
And you knew that in middle school.
You like how I made that a sports analogy?
In middle school, you knew that.
I knew that in junior high school. I had Todd Parker. I had Frank Lozano. Those are my old school DJs out here. I know you were in New York, Colorado. You were all over the place. But those were our old school original DJs on Power 106. And I knew that.
Wow. That's
Jay
insane.
Thomas was the man when we were young.
Wow. That's insane. Talk to me about your musical influences growing up, as a kid, as a teenager.
You really want to know?
Okay. Let me know. Let the cat out of the bag.
Right,
come on.
So, sitting there in the valley, right?
Yeah. 818.
818 all day, every day. In my cousin's Supra.
Okay.
Remember the Supra? You were the if you had a Supra.
Old school.
You were rolling. Right?
I didn't have one, but I liked them.
Give me some.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was in his Supra, and all of a sudden he plays La-de Da-de.
Oh.
And I'm like, what is this? I'm a little girl sitting on, what is this? And then from then on, grandma used to ground me, she's grandma now to my kids, but my mom used to ground me from my Houdini Back in Black tape. And that was my discipline. My New Edition tape was yanked from me. Like, I just fell in love with the music. I thought I was Special K from, having little handcuffs, and I just was so influenced by the culture. And I straight came from a military family, so this is not something I was necessarily around. It was just the attraction to the culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were some classic times musically.
They were, and just in general, because it's like we actually had to search out our stuff. Like, even when we were in high school, we'd go into the warehouse and you'd listen to your records, on CD. You'd go in, remember, and you'd listen to the tracks to see if you wanted to buy it. And
there was no internet. There was no social media.
If you knew, you knew. And then when it got extra gangsta boogie and extra hard, I don't know how. Probably I would say the first one who really, really took me there fanatically were like DJ Quick and High C. Like, I mean, I loved NWA. I loved all that. But there was something about DJ Quick being in the valley, bumping the hell out of it. And and High C too, I love.
Right. Shout out to those legends, Quick and High C. They still going too. They still rocking shows.
Sugar Free, are you kidding?
Yeah, the whole camp.
Stories. I got some good stories of the later after all that, because it's crazy because I grew up just like, these were my guys, like listening to this, like getting grounded from these records. And then for them to be, friends down the road and people that I could fight for, and, when their voices weren't being heard, or that, I could put up my dukes with the Miz. I mean, we'll talk about all that more. And with corporate America, as far as how they're valued. Woo! lot, big homie.
That's a journey, right? We gonna go down that path.
We gonna go down that path. How long we got? Your boy gonna be mad at us. We gonna shut it down in here.
We good. We Gucci. Speaking of a journey, let's talk about, the early days at Power 106.
Okay,
because
I love it.
When I first landed in LA, many moons ago, that was the main hip hop station in LA. And, you had everybody from yourself on the air. You had Tito and the Goodfellas. You had Fuzzy, Big Boy.
Yes.
I mean, you had the Mizza. I mean, the whole squad, Fuzzy.
And I'm not going to forget the Bakers.
The Baker Boys,
Like, the Bakers were a big inspiration to me.
Yeah.
Like, in high school, like, literally, I would be to class late listening to the roll call.
Right.
And, sitting there at school, that's somebody I didn't bring up. But it was like, the Baker Boys did so much for the landscape of radio. Oh, man, the picture. Oh, hello.
Wow.
Yeah.
So talk to me about working alongside some of those legends. Big Boy and Mizza, who's a legend as a producer. I believe he was the program director, right? At Power at one point in time. Am I right?
He wasn't exactly the program director, even though he was making a lot of the musical choices, and he was really the one advocating for people. But because of what he did in music and what he did everywhere else, he was not the final decision.
Okay.
So, God, what was Dame's title? I can't remember Dame's title, but we can call him the man, because that's what he was. Like in my days there, when I don't even know I'm going to launch and I'm going to unroll on this a little too soon for you, but when I really started advocating for the movement and the voice I love, which we hadn't even gotten to the earlier story of that, and like what put me down that hardcore path of like the Latin hip hop and the Chicano rap and my passion for that. In the early days at the radio station, it was rough, because people are like, when we started that show, I'm like, why has nobody else done this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's been a lot of DJs before me. Why has nobody represented this culture and represented this music? And when we were originally starting the show, we thought through it, like, who should we get to host this? Like, I wanted to find a Latino to host it. And everybody's like, you're tripping. I mean, you're a DJ here in Los Angeles that's already got a voice. You are excited and passionate about the culture. And so when the show first launched, I was really, really nervous about it. But then I saw, like, by the response, I'm giving the people what they want.
Right.
And it's done. So what I was saying and why I'm coming back to that or telling you that is because in the hallways, it wasn't easy, because people were mad critical about the music and what I was doing at the time. There were people who were critical, but Dame, man, he would come in. Mizza would make sure I knew, like, you're on, you're going. I remember there was one day during my midday shift, he came in and he's like, cool, if I could pull any artist or any song right now and play it during your shift, what would you want? And I was like, Mr. Shadow Haters. He's like, here you go. Like, he would break the rules, like, for everybody, for all the mix shows. He'd watch out for, C minus, Chalk, everybody. Like, he would just advocate for people and for what the streets wanted. And not only what the streets wanted, but artists he believed in, like, people he believed in. And he's still that way to this day. So, I love him.
Yeah, that's
my bestie.
Thing. Yeah, you were so impactful on many different levels. Take me through the process of how did you get the name Kool-Aid? Because it's a dope name. I mean, I used to sip Kool-Aid as a kid. For all you youngsters out there, that was a powdered drink back in the day that we would get. It's still available in the stores, by the way, but, mix it up with the big Kool-Aid jar and just get busy.
Man, you got me.
So how did you get the name?
You have me tripping, because what's crazy about this, sitting down with you, it's like, I came in with an agenda or how I was going to say things. And then you're sitting back and I've never been brought back through my time. Like, that this is the first time I'm coming in. People have been hitting me up, asking me, come do this podcast, come do that podcast. And I just had to get comfortable and okay and ready for it, because there was a lot in between my Power 106 run and everything I did in film and being a mom, and life did a lot to me. So you forget who you are. So you taking me through these moments, it's kind of a trip, and it's a little emotional. It's a little triggering.
I love it. This is what we do on this show.
Okay, so the name Kool-Aid, are you ready for this?
Yes, because I've been scratching my head. Like,
I don't think you're ready for how the name Kool-Aid.
It's such a dope name.
That some of them don't even know. And it's interesting, too, because it brings you back to my homeboy, rest in peace, Gino XL, who was one of my first experiences in the industry. So one of my first gigs, I had a few early on.
Yes.
But one of the first gigs at 15 years old, my dad would drop me off at the Dulles building in Burbank.
Okay.
And I had an internship at a record label called American Records. And
I remember them.
Remember them?
Yeah.
So it was Rick Rubin's record label.
Yeah.
And here I am, this little girl working under Rick Rubin, walking down the hallways, not even just, knowing, but not knowing. This is Russell Simmons' partner. That's Def Jam
That's
guy.
dope.
Like that, not even totally knowing. And I worked under a dude named Money Moses, who taught me so much game. And then most of all, Dan Charnas, who is just an icon and one of the most brilliant, wonderful people on the planet. And to this day, I don't even know if Dan knows how influential he was on my life or where I ended up going, and which I definitely want to catch up with him one day.
Yeah.
But in the office, I'd have so much energy, and I was always so loud and smiling that Money Moses was like, Kool-Aid, get over here. We're going to teach you how to do something. We're going to teach you how to call the college radio DJs.
Uh-huh.
So they give me a list, because at that time, that's what it was. You'd have to call list.
Go through the paperwork.
And I got some records in front of me. You ready for the records that I'm working? DJ Kool, Let Me Clear My Throat.
Ooh.
You remember that?
Oh.
And I don't know if you remember this one, especially being an East Coast cat, was The Nonce. I used to sell mixtapes, but now I'm an MC. Oh, I got the okay, go ahead. And then Chino XL, I'm a creep. I'm a loser.
Oh, man. Shout out to him. Rest in peace to that king, gone way too soon.
That's my dude. I love him and will love him absolutely forever.
I did a project back in 2005, and they had casted Chino for the role. And I never tried out for it, but this is a crazy story. This is how I met him. The director reached out to me because I guess Chino had booked
What project
tour.
was it?
It was called Destiny's Child.
Okay.
It was an independent film. But the director at the time, Devon Gregory, reached out to me. He's like, listen, I'm in a bind. We're shooting in like 5 days from now. Chino's gonna be on the road. He got on a tour or something. He's like, I wasn't as yoked up as him. I still had some cut now.
Yeah.
But at the time I had the braids and we kind of had the same complexion. So he's like, man, and he saw my reel. He's like, I know you can pull it off. You can do this. He's like, I need you to save me because Chino can't do it. And he even had Chino tap in with me. And Chino called me and we talked about it. And that's how I connected with him. I knew who he was before that. But he was just such a great dude.
Powerful. Such a powerful
human.
Human. Just such a powerful, loving. He was powerful, but he was also loving. And the conversations we would have were just so deep, but so real.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you never had to worry about how you said it or what you said with Chino. It was like, that's my dude for life.
Yeah. I didn't mean to take you away from what you were saying.
No, I'm glad you did, because he deserves all the air around us. He deserves all that space. So Chino was one of the records I was working, and I was calling these little college radio DJs like DJ Qbert at the time. He was a college radio. This little college radio DJ named DJ Rectangle. So these little DJs, little did I know, these college radio DJs, we would all go on to have our own stories. And it was amazing. And so they definitely they saw in me that I was capable of doing more than packaging records to ship out. And they had me doing their college radio calls, and that was my first big experience.
Wow.
And that's where Kool-Aid came from, because that's what you asked. Where the name Kool-Aid? The name Kool-Aid came from the halls of American Records.
Wow. So somebody at American gave you that.
Money Moses. Hey, Kool-Aid.
Shout out to Money Moses, wherever you at.
He's a G.
That's a dope name. And it stuck with you. It fits you perfect.
It did. And what's funny is I was so scared of, I was going to try and figure out how I run from the man, because what if Kool-Aid tries to come at me? What do I do? And being a youngster, you think you're so slick, right? I put the H in the name, thinking that made me different than Kool-Aid.
Right. No, it's just a dope name all around. Plus, it's your unique way to spell it. But I love it. Talk to me about the process, back in like the late 90s, early 2000s. Just working alongside people like the Pit Bulls of the world, Frankie J, Baby Bash, the Little Robs. You were such a pioneer and breaking a lot of that music into the mainstream airwaves, because I knew about these guys in the streets. You know what I mean? But not all of like mainstream America, particularly here in Los Angeles and California. A lot of people didn't know about these artists at that time.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the Miz is always riding on the fact that it's like, if you, whatever you're building, if you play for the streets, you play for the community, and you play for what people really want, then you're gonna win. And I think that's why we're so close, because I'm a huge advocate of that.
Right.
And it all started, my first radio gig was at a station in Oxnard, Q1047 at the time, the station with all the flavor.
Shout out to the Q.
Yeah, and I was getting all the calls like, can you play Little Rob? Can you play Spanish Fly? Can you play Mr. Shadow?
Yeah.
And the program director at the time told me that that's people's cousins calling in to request the songs. And I'm like, no, this music is out there. And then once I got to Power and they started doing the same thing, it's like, okay, how are we? Oh, and by the way, when I'm at Q1047, literally, I had a picture of a Latina female that they put there, and they said, this is who you're talking to every day. And me being a Jewish girl who heard the stories of my family growing up, like, I'm big on like, okay, if we're going after this or we're doing this, then they better have a voice, they better have a piece of it, they better have. So I didn't understand that. I didn't understand how in radio are we catering to this audience, yet there's no voice, especially in hip hop and in a street culture. Because once I came to Power, I was getting the same radio call, same phone calls. Little Rob, Shadow, Spanish Fly. And I had went in one day, dumped all the CDs on my boss's couch and said, I literally, no joke, this sounds so corny, but I had a dream one night. And it was just to have a show playing nothing but this music. So I got all the CDs together that my partner and I had at the time, and I dumped them on the couch of my boss and said, hey, I want to make a show with this music. And Jimmy was a cool dude, and he said, okay, cool, just put something together. What it would sound like. He wanted me to put a demo together, but I put the first show together so that there was like there could be no out at that point.
Right.
Like, what you gonna do? You can play it at midnight on a Sunday. It's not gonna kill you. And so once it started playing, the only promotion we had for the show was going to the swap meets and passing out flyers from Kinko's.
Yeah.
We hit that really hard. And the minute it came on, it's like we got Little Rob, Spanish Fly. I can remember the first call I picked up. A girl was crying, and she's like, you're playing Little Rob on the radio? And I mean, you should have seen the phone lines. Midnight on a Sunday, you should have seen them lighten up, huh? Like a Christmas tree.
Wow.
And it was like, I sat, because I was scared that day. I'm like, what am I doing? I mean, I'm brand new. I just got this midday shift. Like, am I gonna be cool? Is this gonna like? I didn't know, especially being, I was a hip hop head. Like, I grew up on I grew up street team for Ruckus Records.
Yeah.
I grew up, Mos Def. I grew up Common Sense.
Yeah. All
like
the classic
when
stuff.
he had the sense on the name. Like, I was a little Wu-Tang girl, right? So like, what is this? I'm on the station where hip hop lives now.
Yeah.
This is like my hip hop credibility.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I was like, psh. Better recognize, like, the streets are going to always dictate what they want, and it's going to always change. And if you close your mind to that and you're like, oh, I don't like what this is. I hate when I hear people say, I don't like this stuff, or people are doing this, that. Yeah, of course, I love that it's coming back right now to the West Coast gangster boogie, and this is all happening. Like, yeah,
right.
My soul internally, musically, like, hello, I love it.
Yeah.
But each different movement and genre, you will never catch me like, oh, I don't like it, because it's coming from a place of culture and a place of lifestyle and feeling of whoever is living it. And
right.
It needs its respect in the community to breathe for whatever reason at the moment that it's coming out of that community.
Right.
Did that make sense?
No, it makes complete sense.
Okay.
Talk to me about, did you ever get any backlash? I'm sure you got some pushback, right?
Are you kidding?
How did you maintain your composure and overcome all the hating?
I didn't maintain my composure.
Talk to me about how you dealt with
Got
that.
extra gangster. I dealt with it by continuing to just do me and fight harder.
And focus.
I mean, there's a lot of people who would be like, oh, you created something and then you pigeonhole it, so we're just looked at as this. It's like, no, you don't understand. They're not playing this music anywhere in the U.S. Like they look at like when you try and work these records, a programmer, they don't, a Little Rob didn't look like somebody that was on his playlist already. So they're not making space. And you think how hard it is, especially back in those days when radio was the radio that it was, where we didn't have all these ways to consume music.
Right.
Can you imagine? You know how hard it is to get a record played on a radio station. I was going to radio stations all over with my partner, getting 2 hours of their program a week. You can imagine what that was. But then they'd see the ratings, see how it would do, and it's like,
right.
Oh. And then songs started spilling out. Night Owl, Daddy, I'm in Love with a Gangster, which was a crazy one. Rest in peace to the homie Night Owl.
Rest in peace to Night. Yeah.
And we saw songs launch out of there, and then eventually became part of radio politics, because these artists started becoming relevant. Right.
I used to listen to your show. I used to listen to you on the air, and then I would see you at events, and we didn't really know each other well at that time, but we've
always seen each other in we're always like,
we've always been in the same circles.
I think that's why I felt so comfortable. I was asking myself on the way over here, I'm like, why did I choose this show first? Like, what was it? Why did I feel so comfortable coming and chilling with Matt? And I think that's what it is. I think that we've always kind of walked by each other for decades, and just the respect was there. Yeah,
always love.
Yeah.
Anytime you associate with Bash, which is a homie, shout out to the whole squad.
Are you kidding?
Stewie, Bash,
My
Heavy.
Stewie brothers.
Those are homies. Little Rob, the whole team.
Stop it.
That's just like family. They're just good people.
Don't forget about Big D. Don't be a hater.
Oh, yeah, Big D.
Okay, yeah.
Big D makes a lot of things happen. Like, no, that's man.
That's my bro.
Yeah,
Here,
Big D's good people.
Big D, this button's for you.
Okay, yeah.
Now it's official.
Shout out to Big D. All love. Talk to me about the movement, especially lately with the comedy movement. On the comedy circuit, you've got like Concrete, you've got Jay Valentino.
Kidding? I love it.
I love what they're doing out there.
They're making it like a gangster rap movement. Like the way they're taking over, like entertainment, visually.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of Con. So
yeah, I believe he just was featured on CBS News.
He was. He's all over the news now and all over the world promoting his own shows with Marty the manager.
Yeah, I see you, Con. I see you.
That picture you have, it's really cool because that was in the middle of when my motherhood, right after my dad passed.
Okay.
And then being in between, like there's that part of the story that was kind of missed for us, but I stopped down to be a mom.
Yeah.
And I have 2 beautiful children. One of them, he learns a little differently, but now he's a rock star.
Okay.
He's like, oh man, he's crazy off the hook. So that was a challenge for me, and I'm a hyper-focused person. So it's like when I was on the radio doing what I did, I hyper-focus on that. So when I was Miss Stay-at-Home Mom, taking care of my dad while he was sick too, it was like hyper-focused on family. Mm-hmm. And some curveballs that happened that I didn't expect came up, and it was like all of a sudden I was left in the position of, what am I going to be when I grow up? I'm 40, I think at the time like 43, 44. What am I going to do? And this was when I had produced some fun little sketch comedy parody videos that were super, super fun that we actually did pretty well with. It was my first little thing out, and like I had a million views in like in a second. It was off the whole little Visco movement, but Con was there with me creatively and was just like, you can do this, was just a cheerleader, just a positive cheerleader. Concrete's wife, Nikki, who I absolutely love and adore, when she was a little girl and I was street team at Kiss FM, she would sing Selena covers at the schools.
Really?
And I loved her and her mom so much. And actually during some of my darkest times when I was real quiet and just didn't want to talk to her, I wasn't sharing with anybody, Nikki's mom would send me these messages, just these beautiful, she didn't know, but she knew, like, because she's a very spiritual woman.
Yeah.
And she'd send me these beautiful messages that would just give me this light and sense of hope. And so there's a real connect there.
Right.
And then when Nikki told me she was going to get married, Nikki's beautiful. She told me she was going to marry a rapper. And I've told this story before at one of Con's shows. And I'm like, damn, why is she going to marry a rapper? So she's marrying this dude Beretta. She's marrying this rapper dude. Like, no, Nikki, don't go down the rapper hole. And he ended up one of the most wonderful spirits and souls who he deserves everything he's getting right now. He's got his mom and dad, who he does a lot of the skits with his dad.
Yeah, I love it.
His mom and dad, they have a business where they were party planners. And they would come do whenever I'd have something like a family birthday or whatever. They'd come in and bring my tacos and they'd set up the party for me. And Con would always be there. I don't know whether to call him Con, Concrete, Beretta.
Right.
Whenever I say Con, Marty, I think of you. I have Con. I have like it said in my head in your voice. But he would come and set up with his parents.
Yeah.
And was always there for his parents and always would grind for his parents, even when he was doing all the videos and all the production. Because for a while he got very video and production heavy. He was just doing videos for everybody. So that was that picture you guys have is him and I doing a video. And that's when, after I worked with him, I'm like, man, this guy has the best spirit and is just got such a vision and such love for people. And that was actually in Baby Bash's garage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, his setup was in Baby Bash's garage for a while, like during the hustle times. Wow. Which Bash lived right across the street from my mom and dad. I put him there when he moved to Cali. He used to go steal little tangerines off my dad's tree because he used to like them when he was on his, on his good ones.
Yeah. Shout out to Bash, always a real one.
Yeah.
Got a really big heart.
Are you kidding? Like, he's as real as you get. Like, Bash is my brother. I mean, you guys, like, he just, I adore Bash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's been solid since day one. Yeah. Never switched it up.
So then Con, now let's move forward to now. So once I started thinking like I just started getting a little woke up, like a little shook, like, okay, I can do this. I need to do this. I need to get back out.
Right.
Stop being in my own head. I would text Con like, hey, so what should me and my trauma therapist best friend, who is just a doll, like we went through such junk together that it's just unreal. The story and what we've pushed through together is just unreal. And we were just trying to find ourselves a little joy. And we're like, okay, we'll start a podcast, or we'll do this. But what kind of equipment? I'm telling you, we must have bought equipment for podcasts for about 2 years. Just keep just going like it's going to make itself.
Right.
Like, what should we get here? What should we get there? So Con, when I was telling him, Con knew this, that it was like, here goes Cool again asking for what equipment to get. And Con was like, why don't you come down to my facility and let's talk about this.
Yeah.
And so just the energy he had, the love he has, the passion he has. And then I saw what he was doing too. I see what he's doing. It's like he's opening so many doors for so many people, not only himself. I mean, it's so much pressure. Like, you guys see the funny Con, but like internally, I know him that feels so much responsibility to not only his family, but to the community, because that's who he is as a human. Yeah. And he's putting so many people on while he's putting himself on. So like, when you talk about the movement, like all of them together, they're creating a gang, which it's like everything is so much more powerful as a movement than individually. And I think that's what happened with the music, and why I was able to do what I was able to do with it was because of the movement that we created. It was not just one artist, or it was not just self-centered, it was a movement. And that's what Con's doing incredibly in the comedy circle. Wow. And so he's going to be helping with the production on my podcast, and he's one of my biggest cheerleaders and dopest friends. Yeah. And I can't wait to create crazy, amazing business with him.
That's dope. That's dope. He's family. And speaking about family, let's talk about single motherhood, right? Mm-hmm. In terms of you being a single mom. I believe both kids are teenagers.
They are.
Okay.
You believe right.
Yeah. Talk to me about that
They're
process
cute.
Because, we grew up in an era where things were different. We didn't have the cell phones and the touch of a button, the social medias, all the distractions that, people like yourself deal with and parents deal with. Talk to me about that transition and what it's like now for you, balancing, because now you're back in the game. You really never left, but, coming full circle, how are you balancing all that?
I did leave.
You didn't leave in my heart.
And I love that. Thank you, because that's what, like, I feel like I'd go places and I'm like, when I'd get recognized, I'd be like thinking, boo, I ain't been on the radio for 18 years. Like, really? It would be like, it would shock me whenever it would happen. It was like, I have 2 beautiful kids.
Right.
And Helen, who is this incredible softball player, little
Shout out to Helen.
actress.
Okay.
And EJ, who is this complete rock star. Who that's a whole nother adventure because, like I said, he learns a little differently.
Okay.
And so I was lucky enough to really focus in hard and see what you can get for your kid, what's out there to get them the education they need and not let them get left or lost or pushed aside, and how incredible those brains that operate a little differently actually are, and what it's going to become. Because like I said, he's going to be a huge rock star.
Right.
When Helen graduated junior high, that's when I knew it was kind of like, which was just a few months ago. I'm like, okay, she's going to high school. She is who she's going to be. He is who he's going to be. I'm not going to change that. I'm going to direct that and try and help and be here for them. But I'm not going to change that. Now the only excuse I have, rest in peace to my dad, the only excuse I have is myself. And that was that was just whatever. That was just that day I remember thinking, all right, it's go time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's a beautiful thing.
So as far as balancing it, I'm still learning. As far as technology, like you said, and the kids, it's so different. And I think a lot of parents, and that's one thing Sarah and I are going to really discuss and hit on, because Sarah, she's a brilliant mind. Like who else has a best friend that's a trauma therapist? She specializes in trauma therapy, but she's a family therapist also. It's like to be able to have that kind of insight. Plus, she's hella hood. Like I call her Ghetto Barbie.
Ghetto Barbie, okay.
Yeah, I was calling her Red Bottom Ghetto Barbie before, but she told me Red Bottoms are a little out and she prefers YSLs.
Okay.
Yeah, she's not sure about the Ghetto Barbie thing, but she is like, she's hood. Like she knows her stuff.
Right.
But
is it too early to ask the name of the show?
No, it's a show up show.
Okay.
That was our whole thing. We just got to show up.
Okay.
So now
show.
that's
I like that.
That's the motto in life. Just show up.
Okay.
You might not have the plan. You might be nervous. You might be scared. But sometimes in life, we can't do anything else but show up. And that's what I had to do. We had to stand on that.
Right. And that's what you did today.
Yeah.
You showed up.
I just showed up. I came alone purposely because I'm not necessarily, I used to roll with, I'd have my whole crew, Uncle Art and Rob and Osito and shouts out to just all my boys that would roll with me.
Right. And
I always had my crew around me.
Okay.
And so being alone in this venture now too is something that I'm trying to get myself comfortable with. And okay, but we got to go back to the parenthood because you had brought up the technology.
Yes.
And the one thing I noticed, it's like our kids have access to everything so early on. I'm a true believer in if you don't have the real dialogue with them and you're not really talking to them and you're not seeing them for who they are and where they're at, they're being exposed to everything. Super, super young.
Right.
Super, super early. I would rather know what's going down. I would rather you have the conversation with me.
That's smart.
So my kids and I are very open. We're very close. I would absolutely, I know some people say that you're their mom or their dad, not their best friend. My children are my best friends, and I am still their mother.
That's hella dope.
Yeah.
Because not every parent can say that about the relationship that they have with their kids, particularly when they're teenagers.
Yeah.
Because that can be some of the most challenging.
Oh, yeah, they get on my nerves. We get on each other's nerves. But at the end of the day, it's like they know who I am and respect that, and I know who they are, and I respect that. And I think that's what gets us through that. I mean, there's those days where it's like, really, you gonna sit in your room all day? Like, oh, I'm sorry for opening your door. Really? Did I just rob a bank by the way you're reacting?
Right.
But we're definitely meeting each other where we're at. The kids are really excited, and I love to see that, to see this side of mom, because they didn't know. They didn't know.
Yeah, they were too young. They weren't even around.
I'm like, are you sure you guys are ready for me? Because the envelope is gonna be pushed a little bit. Like, are you sure you guys are really ready to see who mom is? But I think they're getting a kick out of it.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Let's talk sports. So you rocking that Dodger blue?
Yes.
Shout out to the Dodgers. That's always been my team.
You want to take me back to '88 and test me? Can we go back to '88, the World Series?
Who was the one that hit the winning home run in '88?
Number 23, Kirk Gibson.
Okay.
Okay, go. Let's go. Before I tell. Yeah.
Who was managing the team at the time?
Are you kidding, Tommy? Like, come on now.
Rest in peace.
What else you got for me?
I'm not going to sleep on your knowledge.
About the Moose? You ain't going to ask me about the Moose, Mike Marshall? You ain't going to ask me about Mickey Hatcher? I mean, we can go here.
Now, were you at some of these games?
Oh, my God. Like, almost all of them. And I was the kid standing at the gate to get my autographs. My favorite was definitely Kirk Gibson and Mike Scioscia.
Okay.
Mike Scioscia was the man.
Yeah.
So I loved it. After the strike, baseball lost me a little bit.
Okay.
But then I came back. I definitely came back in with the Braves, but that's when my little hormones started hitting.
Ooh.
And they had Terry Pendleton and Dave Justice. And I was a teenage girl. They had all the cute boys. So for a minute, I became an Atlanta Braves fan just because they had the cute boys.
Can't forget about Matt Kemp, who was a classic.
Dodger
classic.
Yeah.
All the ladies love that dude.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. Eddie Murray, like, come on, dude. Steve Sachs, like, yeah, my classic guys. My Dodgers were so classic. But
did you ever meet Fernando Valenzuela?
that's a good question. I think I might have.
He was a pitcher, by the way.
Are you telling me he was a pitcher, by the way? Of course I know Fernando. He's one of the greatest pitchers.
Well, yes, a legend.
Yeah, next thing I know, you're going to tell me Oral Hershiser. He was a pitcher, by the way.
Yes.
Come on. Let's go deep. Let's go
So
deep.
you don't remember meeting Fernando? Did you meet him?
I can't remember. I think I might have. Actually, later on in life.
Okay.
But I can't remember. I'm thinking I did.
Right. Dodger Stadium has so much history.
Oh, the energy? Are you kidding?
They break my heart every year, right?
Oh,
they win the division, like they be just dominating everybody, and then the playoffs come. I'm like, you guys are losing to the Padres. No disrespect, San Diego.
Yeah.
But the Dodgers are a better team. I'm like, man, I hope this year is different with Ohtani, right?
Do you know who my favorite football player or my favorite football team is? Can you guess?
I'm gonna say the Raiders, but I could be wrong.
You're wrong.
Okay, the Broncos.
Yeah.
Ooh, give me some of that. Ooh,
I saw you.
that's my team.
Okay, but I mean, again, I'm old school, bro. I'm like Three Amigos Broncos.
Oh, Ricky Nattiel.
Are you kidding?
Vance Johnson.
Vance Johnson. Are you kidding?
Rod
Ballerina
Smith.
himself. Okay.
Come on. Those were the great golden years
Those
with
were
Elway and Sammy Winder
Oh
and
my gosh.
Dennis Smith.
I still have my little Elway autograph rookie card I got when I was a little girl. Standing out there at their little warm-ups and
Now, the brief time that you lived in Colorado, did you ever go to the games at High Stadium?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I've got my Elway autograph rookie card that I got myself standing there waiting for Elway to come out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was a sports fan and I was a softball player.
Okay.
I was pretty.
You was a hell of an athlete, weren't you?
I was a really good catcher, third base, and just I had a lot of heart. And then I'd mess with the girls too. I'd do things so people they'd be like, "Oh my God, she's crazy," and they'd be scared of me. And I'd put on a show.
You were out there being a bully or what?
No, I would just put on a show. Like I'd kiss home plate when I came up to bat. Like do things like, "Oh, this girl crazy."
Yeah.
They'd want to fight me at the end of the game because I'd do the most. I'd swing my bat. Yeah, I put on a show.
Right.
I was a Deion Sanders type showwoman.
Okay. Out there showboating a little bit.
Yeah.
Swagging it out, doing your thing.
Just a little bit on the little diamonds.
I'm not mad at that. What about basketball? Lakers?
I would say Lakers. There was a time, though, where I was a Knicks fan because I really liked Ewing's energy. There was something about Patrick Ewing's energy as a kid that I just ate alive, that I loved. So there was a minute that I was a Knicks fan, and then just the New York thing.
Yeah.
All of us wanted to.
I wanted swag, the culture.
I had my Timberlands and my airbrush pants for
the hoodie, right?
Yeah, like are you kidding? Oh, I was in my whole Wu-Tang, where the dub meant Wu-Tang for a minute. I was in my whole Wu era, and I mean,
How old were you the first time you went to New York?
Not till later, and I can remember it was like during my career. Like later in my career when I was actually for a meeting I had at MTV. And I can remember being in the streets of New York and looking around me just like, oh, I haven't conquered anything yet. Like you get out there and you're like, you think you're running things in Cali or you're running like you got it all going on. But we forget. It's like we get so caught up with certain things that happen in our life and you're like, things feel like the end of the world, or a relationship with somebody, you get dissed, you feel like, oh man, I'm losing this. I love being around these people. Now I'm not going to have this. And we forget how big the world is around us.
Right.
And you just have to remind yourself of that. And you just, on those days, I mean, we all have those days where it's like, you have one day where you're feeling real good and you're ready to take on the world. And then the next day you're like in your own head, like, what is it? Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? Well, New York for me is one of those big eye openers that you've done nothing. You've touched like none of us.
Yeah.
We haven't touched a quarter of it.
Right.
So
the vibe is different.
Yeah.
You know, it's a different energy.
Yeah. Constantly reminding ourselves that the world is big.
But you loved it the first time.
Oh, are you kidding? I loved it. At first, I loved it, and I love it when I go. But then it gets to a point where I'm out there, and I feel like the buildings are on top of me, and
it's
I
time
want
to go home.
It's time to come home, put my top down on my Jeep, and you do that Cali thing.
Right.
Ain't nothing like the gangster boogie.
Right. That's hella dope. That's hella dope. For people that are watching the show, particularly ladies in the industry who want to get in the industry, give me 2 pieces of advice for them. What would you tell them? Whether they're starting out or maybe they had a path similar to yours, because you're still a legend in my book.
Thank you.
Break that down, and how would that resonate with them in terms of your advice? What would you tell them right now if they get discouraged along the journey, because it can be challenging?
You know what I love is my baby girl Letty from Brown Bag.
Shout out to Brown Bag, Letty.
I adore her.
Yeah.
There's so many times that you don't realize that you've influenced or inspired somebody by just listening and being present and just giving them those words of encouragement.
Right.
What I would say after going through what I went through now, and as hard as it was to get myself out of that, start being your own words of encouragement. Get out of your own head. Affirmations, man, like to yourself, like real and straight up. And my biggest advice used to be, but it was more radio advice, was to always smile. Every time you crack the mic, even if you're having a hard day or whatever you're doing, if you smile, you can't help but feel the energy, and the world can't help but feel the energy.
Right.
Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid. Speaking of energy, we have a surprise for you.
Oh, I'm scared.
Solomon, where you at, man? Where you at?
Solomon,
I'm
is something gonna jump? Are you gonna do me like Ellen when things jump out of the boxes?
We got something
possibly.
for you.
I'm gonna hang up the headphones and walk on over there.
We got something for you.
I'm scared. Really?
Yeah, this is what we do on this show.
Look at me, I'm blushing.
Ooh, look at that. Ooh, that is fly. That's the dopest cake I'm not. Yeah, we gotta. You be careful. You gotta pick it up.
No, they can see it. You can see it. Yeah.
So that's a token of appreciation. It's love. This is what we do on this show. We create moments and memories. You know what I mean? I came up with the idea. I was like, yo. I called a spot. I'm like, yo, can you guys pull this off in 24 hours? Shout out to Sweetie's Bakery, by the way. Yes, I had to do it. Yeah, it's all good. That's look. Come on. You know what I mean? That's for the radio legend right there. It's nothing but love. You feel me? Yeah, that's for you. That's a gift. That's a gift from Sports Hop Media and myself, and it just kind of exemplifies.
Sweeties, I appreciate that.
Sweeties,
it's so cute.
Sweeties made it happen.
Is that red velvet?
It's actually vanilla bean.
Okay, I'm cool with vanilla bean
and
too.
It's fire.
Yeah.
I thought about red velvet, but I'm like, I don't know. How
you don't
can
know?
I find this out? I'm like, how am I gonna find this out?
I'm a hood type girl. I like red velvet.
Yeah.
Too, but this is good. But yeah, you would have given it away.
And you know what's so funny? Because they told me like, it's kind of hot out. I'm like,
you have me blushing over here.
I had to transport this thing over here, right? They didn't deliver. They don't go this far.
Right.
So I'm like, damn. So I came creative with the ice bags and everything, and I'm like, I didn't want it to collapse and melt away. You know what I mean?
I love it.
But so for those of you watching the show, Kool-Aid recently had a birthday.
I did.
I wasn't there, but I'm like, hey, I still want to recognize.
I appreciate that. We're going to do it really big
recognize.
next year. I usually don't like birthdays. I haven't liked birthdays in the last decade.
Yeah.
But this year I wanted to celebrate a little bit with my friends, and I was like, I'm owning 48.
Yeah,
I
own it.
I ain't tripping.
Own every
I'm
year.
owning it. I'm going hard. Next year we're gonna do a real big birthday party. Watch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, make sure you tap in
Hey,
with your
speaking
boy.
of birthday parties,
Yes.
October 19th, the Mizza. It's gonna be his birthday. You're gonna come hang out with
That's
us.
huge.
Oh, it's gonna
Hell
be.
yeah.
Oh, we're gonna put on such a birthday party for him, like out of here. And then we have the
Yeah.
whole conference. I'm so excited because he's bringing such amazing humans
Right.
together. Him, Michelle S., myself,
Yeah.
Steve Rifkin, who started Loud, which
Loud Records back
he
in the day.
relaunched Loud, which I'm
Really?
yes, just a couple days ago, which I'm super stoked about. Brian Shafton, who's
yeah.
just an icon
That's
in
a
the
big
indie
dog
game,
right there.
Beyond, and plus an amazing human. These are all amazing humans.
Right.
And, I just am so excited to be a part of that,
Right.
and to be just in that roster of spirits. Like, is crazy to me.
That's dope. That's hella dope.
We'll celebrate.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
You in?
Yeah, I'm in.
We gonna do that?
Ooh.
Okay. There it is. There it is. For those watching the show, tell all the fans and the viewers, where can they find you in terms of social media, your handles?
Okay.
Go ahead and let them know what time.
Okay, well, right now your girl is just getting used to using Instagram and being
Right.
consistent on Instagram, and so I'm like all night, and I don't
Figuring it out, right?
Yeah. And when the kids are saying you're scrolling, I'm like, no, I'm working. You can catch me on Instagram, KHOOLAID. I do some funny shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm cool. I'm not as funny as Tom, but I'm doing some fun, meaningful shit. I feel like.
Right.
And you're going to be able to catch the podcast with Sarah and I, who is my absolute world, and that is the Show Up Show, and that's coming. I'll put that on Instagram.
Okay.
Still figuring out how I want to deliver that, but we deliver it in the next couple weeks.
Right. I love the movement. And for those of you who don't already know, tap in with your boy at Mack B, MACK, as in boy, _ at Sports Hop Media. This is episode 37. I got the legend Kool-Aid on the couch. We celebrating life.
I love it.
Keep it live.
Let's go.
Thanks for watching Sports Hop. Subscribe here for all the latest news on hip hop and sports. It's your boy Mack B.